Welcome to the Copperfield Electric Podcast. Today we're doing a really crucial deep dive. We're talking about the practical side of getting high-speed EV charging right there in your own driveway. We've pulled together a specialized checklist, some key logistical info, all focused on how you can successfully install a Tesla EV charger at home. For a lot of you, this is kind of the last piece of the puzzle for EV ownership, right? And we're here to give you that expert roadmap. Our mission: cut through the confusion about electrical needs, skip the generic stuff, and really give you the specific knowledge you need. We want to ensure you get safe, code compliant, and honestly, reliably fast charging without, tripping your main breaker every night.
Yeah, and what's fascinating here is this isn't like plugging in a toaster, is it? Installing an EV charger puts a significant ongoing load on your home system. So we're really focused today on building that solid electrical foundation right from the beginning, because the charger is only as good as the panel feeding it power. Understanding that initial bottleneck, well, that's the key. It helps minimize costs later and maximizes the performance you get.
Exactly. And that bottleneck is where our checklist really starts. The very first step, even before you think about ordering that wall connector, you absolutely have to assess your home's current electrical setup. Our sources are crystal clear on this. Step one is review your electrical system and panel capacity before installation. Why is this so critical?
Well, because we're dealing with what electricians call a continuous load. That's the key term here.
Continuous load.
Right. This is an essential insight people often miss. EV charging is continuous, meaning it runs at full power for 3 hours or more, and that immediately brings the 80% rule into play. So if you're aiming for a 50-amp circuit for your charger, your breaker actually needs to be rated for 60 amps, because that circuit can only safely handle 80% of its total rating continuously.
Wait, hold on. So if I have a standard, maybe older 100-amp main panel, a 60-amp breaker for the EV charger is taking up more than half my total capacity, just like that, before I even turn on the air conditioning or the dryer or the oven.
Precisely. That's the core challenge right there. If your panel is older, maybe 100 amps, sometimes even less, or maybe it's just physically full, no empty slots, you might just not have the capacity to safely add that new 50 or 60 amp dedicated circuit that you need for fast Tesla charging. And skipping this check, that risks dangerously overloaded panels, which isn't just inconvenient, tripped breakers. It's a serious safety issue, a fire hazard potentially.
Okay, so the electrician's job isn't just connecting wires then. It's doing a proper load calculation first, seeing if the panel can actually take the hit. This is where you really need specialized pros. Our sources pointed us to a company like Copperfield Electric. They clearly have expertise in handling this exact situation, especially in busy areas.
That's right. They're local experts down in Southern California with a real focus on Orange County. We're talking cities like Irvine, Anaheim, Santa Ana, Costa Mesa, Newport Beach, those areas. And when you start dealing with local electrical codes and crucially permits, which we'll get to, having an established licensed professional, is just vital. Their license, by the way, is hashtag 1094740. I mean, one of their core services is electrical panel upgrades. And they operate 24/7, which shows they understand how critical these systems are.
Right. They need to confirm there's physical space for that dedicated circuit, check the breaker size matches the need, often that 50 or 60 amp discussion, right?
Yeah.
Depends how fast you want to charge overnight.
Exactly. And if that panel capacity just isn't there are basically two main paths forward. One is the more expensive route, typically, full panel upgrade, often to 200 amps. Or two, and this is becoming much more popular, it's often the smarter route, installing a load management system.
Load management. Tell me more about that.
Yeah, it's clever. This system actively monitors the total power your house is drawing at any moment. So if you start the EV charging, but then the big AC unit kicks on, the system automatically throttles back the power going to the charger temporarily. It ensures you never exceed your panel's main service limit. And, this can potentially save you thousands compared to a full panel replacement.
Wow, okay. That is a really critical piece of specialized knowledge for our listeners, knowing there are options beyond just ripping out the whole panel. Okay, so let's say our panel passed muster, or maybe we opted for that load management system. Now we move into phase two. Here's where it gets really interesting: the actual hardware and the professional side of things. What are the choices for the charger itself?
Well, Tesla gives you two main options for home charging. The difference really comes down to speed and permanence. First, you've got the Tesla wall connector. That's the hardwired option. Mounts right on the wall. This gives you the maximum charging speed, usually the full 48 amps, if it's on a 60 amp circuit. Second option is the mobile connector. This is the one that plugs into an electrical outlet. Typically, that's a NEMA 1450 outlet, the kind used for electric ranges or RVs.
Okay, what's the practical difference then, choosing the mobile connector with that NEMA 1450 plug?
Speed, mainly. It
Yeah.
limits your charging capacity. That's the big distinction. A NEMA 1450 outlet, even with the capable mobile connector, is usually limited to a 40-amp continuous draw.
Ah, okay.
So even if your car and the connector could handle more, the outlet itself becomes the bottleneck there. In real terms, that might mean adding, say, 40 miles of range per hour with a wall connector versus maybe only 30 miles per hour with the mobile connector setup. If you drive a lot daily or have a short overnight window to charge, that difference can actually matter quite a bit.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
And regardless of which hardware path you go down, the sources really hammer home the need for professional installation. This isn't just about avoiding, zapping yourself with high voltage. It's about doing it right, meeting code.
Oh, absolutely. A licensed electrician handles all those crucial details beyond just the wiring. Things that protect you, the homeowner, in the long run. They're the ones who navigate the process of securing the necessary electrical permit from your local city or county. That's non-negotiable. And they ensure all the work, every connection, every wire gauge complies with the local electrical codes, which, believe me, are constantly being updated, especially in places like Orange County. Without a permit signed off, you could face real problems down the road if you ever sell your house or if there's ever an insurance claim or inspection needed.
So they really handle the bureaucracy and the safety compliance side. Plus, they confirm the best spot for it, right? Close to the panel, ideally, to keep the wire run short, but also convenient for where you park the car.
Precisely. You want it convenient for the car's charge port. And the outcome of using a professional, like the ones we've been discussing, is just worth it. You get a charger that's installed correctly, delivers that consistent, safe power day in and day out. And you have peace of mind, knowing you're getting that fast charging capability you paid for safely.
Okay, let's talk money now. Because preparation and professional work, they aren't free. But it sounds like the long-term value is definitely there. Installation costs can vary quite a bit, which is why getting clear, itemized estimates is so important. The sources seem to break down the cost variables into three main buckets. And it all really hinges on that initial electrical assessment we talked about.
Yeah, the first variable is pretty straightforward. The charger type itself. You know, buying the wall connector versus using the mobile connector you might already have. Hardware cost. The second one, that's the big wild card, electrical upgrades. This is where the cost can really jump. It includes not just the potential cost of a whole new electrical panel, if needed, but also the complexity of the wiring itself. How far is the run from the panel to the charger location?
Right. Is it right next to the panel in the garage, or is it like 100 feet away on an outside wall, needing conduit, maybe even trenching?
Exactly. That distance and difficulty really impact the labor involved.
And that leads to the third factor, which is simply labor and permits. The professional electrician's time and expertise, plus the fees for those permits they handle.
And, naturally, the cost of that labor is going to reflect the complexity of any upgrades needed back in that second bucket. A simple install is much cheaper than one needing a panel swap and long wire run.
Makes sense.
But, while that initial investment number can seem large sometimes, ranging maybe from a few hundred to several $1,000s, the value proposition over time is usually very strong. We noted earlier the convenience is huge, but also the savings. Charging at home is typically cheaper than using public charging stations.
Right. You're paying your residential electricity rate, not the commercial rate plus markup you find at public chargers.
Plus, think about the time saved. You get back all those hours you might otherwise spend sitting at a supercharger somewhere. You'd plug in overnight at home.
That's a huge lifestyle benefit. And once it's all installed, the good news is the maintenance seems pretty minimal. We always like hearing little upkeep.
It's largely a set it and forget it kind of system, yeah. But little upkeep doesn't mean zero upkeep. It's good practice to do a few simple checks. The sources recommend you should regularly inspect the charging cable itself, look for any visible signs of wear, cracks, or fraying, keep the wall connector unit itself clean, wipe off dust, make sure it's not blocked by anything, and just occasionally take a look at your electrical panel, maybe the breaker for the charger. Any signs of discoloration, unusual heat, that could signal a loose connection or developing problem. Just basic visual checks.
Got it. So, simple checks to ensure you maintain that consistent, fast charging over the long haul. This has been incredibly useful, really getting into the practical steps. So just to quickly recap the key takeaways, the really crucial knowledge we dug into today for installing a Tesla EV charger successfully, it really comes down to following a clear checklist, prioritizing safety and code compliance. That means systematically and with expert help, reviewing your electrical capacity first. Remember that 80% continuous load rule and think about load management as a smart alternative to a full panel swap. Then choose your hardware wall connector for speed, mobile for flexibility, knowing the speed trade offs. Critically, hire licensed professionals. They handle the permits, the codes, the safe installation. And finally, budget realistically. Understand the cost variables, charger type, potential electrical upgrades, and the labor involved.
And just to reiterate, a company like Copperfield Electric really specializes in navigating exactly these challenges for homeowners.
Yeah.
From that initial load calculation to getting the final permit signed off. They are licensed, bonded, insured professionals offering that fast, reliable service across Orange County. They take care of all those electrical details, making sure your home is ready, not just for your current EV, but maybe future-proofed too. Which, actually raises an important question looking forward. We talk about the need for careful panel assessments and maybe upgrades today. And the car industry is always pushing for faster chargers for reduced charging time, right? Which inherently demands more power from the home. So the question is, how quickly will our basic residential electrical capacity standards need to evolve? How much will homes need to adapt over the next, say, 10 years just to keep pace with the increasing speed and power demands of future EV charging tech?
That's a really fundamental question, isn't it, about our home infrastructure and where investment needs to go. For now, though, we definitely encourage you to start with the checklist and the professional assessment we laid out today, and maybe keep that load management system idea in your back pocket as perhaps the smartest way for many homes to adapt to the electrical grid of tomorrow. Thank you so much for joining us for this deep dive. We'll catch you on the next one.